Get ready, y'all. The clone wars are coming. Only it won't be like us fighting against an army of clones. It'll be more like a war against a party that wants to have clone slaves. But you liberals gotta think this cloning thing through. Would you want more of me around? Think about it.
I think what's happening. Propaganda.
I see cloning and embryonic stem cell research the same way I see medical marijuana. The push for medical marijuana ain't about the person with cancer. The person suffering is used by the ones who want marijuana legal for recreational purposes, and that's shameful. If you think people who want marijuana legal really care about it as medicine for the suffering, well, then you're flipping high. And stem cell research and cloning are the same exercise in pulling on heartstrings to make abortion more acceptable. I mean, who's opposed to cures being found for diseases and afflictions that cause so much suffering and heartache? These things are tragic. But y'all, do not let that blind you to the tragic horror that comes about when you disqualify personhood, like slavery in America, the Jewish Holocaust, and eugenics. Y'all, not only does disqualifying personhood void a person of empathy, people become hostile towards those whom they don't see as human. I listen to how angry and defensive pro-abortionists are about their pro-abortion stance and how callous they are. Like Elizabeth Williams of Salon.com, who justifies herself in saying she would have the world's greatest abortion. So y'all, I ain't falling for this stuff because it's just a meat tenderizer used by the abortion industry, and if cloning comes into practice, it will be a slave industry. I'd like to also point this out to people who argue for abortion. Using so-called logic like the unwanted is most likely going to end up a criminal, so they're better off aborted. Okay, pro-abortionists refuse to see the child in the womb as even a potential human being, yet you hypocrites can see the child in the womb as a potential criminal. Let that sink in a bit. Need a little help? In order to commit a crime, you gotta be human. And not only are you pro-abortionists more willing to see a child in the womb as a criminal over seeing the child in the womb as a person, you also take a full crap on the principle of innocent until proven guilty. You pro-abortion types don't even want to assume that the child in the womb is human, yet you'll make this mass of cells human enough to criminalize so you can impose a death sentence for a crime not even committed. You pro-abort liberals also show your hypocrisy by trying to make the case for abortion by going from saying the mass of cells will have no redeeming value because it will most likely end up to be a criminal that will take life, to trying to say discarding unwanted babies does have a redeeming value because they have the potential to save lives, like with stem cell research or cloning. And as I've said in my audiobook, Weapon of Mass Destruction, if these pro-abort liberals don't consider the child in the womb as human, why don't they conduct their stem cell research with cat embryos? Or couldn't they use ape embryos? Since you libs swear that we humans and apes share a common ancestry, if apes and humans are that close, why not use those? Oh, I think I know. It's probably because the libs would find it cruel to the apes. But despite the fact that libs don't consider the child in the womb as a person, it's human enough to enslave as a clone or scavenge for stem cells. Not only is it enslavement, it's murder. And slaves have often been murdered. See, the fertilized egg, and yes, the egg has to be fertilized, and then from there, it's destroyed, leaving basically a container that is a fertilized facility to develop with the new input of DNA. The new embryo is now created to be cattle. See what happens when you disqualify personhood? For what other purpose would there be to create a clone, but to make that clone do what you created the clone for? You've not only deprived the clone of liberty, but the right to pursue happiness, as the clones don't get to decide their pursuits. But isn't it cool, though, to pursue cloning because we can? It's cool to just have the know-how, isn't it? Can I remind y'all again of the Garden of Eden with the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life? Did y'all happen to notice that Eve wasn't led to be focused on the tree of life? Satan focused her on the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And I reckon there are both implications of good and evil with embryonic stem cell research and cloning. But here's the problem. Adam and Eve were influenced to value knowledge over life. And it's been that way since the very beginning. When you value knowledge over life, death follows. And of course, liberals will assume that I just want people to be stupid. No. Become as intelligent and wise as you can. just don't value knowledge over life. I'm AlfonZo Rachel with ZO Nation, where we understand that if God really dug cloning, he would have left Moses where we could find him, or Jesus where we could find him, because of the time that would come when someone would come and try to clone them and seek to make a clone Moses as their spiritual leader, or seek to make a clone Jesus as a resurrected Messiah. That would be a paradox of cosmic proportions, an attempt to clone the King of Kings to designate him to serve as King of Kings. And a real king volunteers to serve. He's not made to serve. But God didn't allow such cells to be available because that would go really bad. And I reckon if we shouldn't clone Moses or Jesus, we shouldn't clone anybody. Let that sink in a bit.